And welcome everybody to the Final Yard here on the 5 Reasons Sports Network. I am your host, Louis Sung, and I will be, for the time being at least, going on my own. But don't worry, because I got plenty of thoughts to say. So before we get into it too far, I'm just going to go ahead and say thank you once again to Thrive Fantasy for sponsoring today's episode. So if you want to get into the fantasy football world, but you're not sure where to start, go to thrivefantasy.com. They'll be able to help you out. They'll be able to just have you pick the over, the under out of the 10 of the available 20 players to choose from. They're all assigned a certain value. All you have to do is choose whether they will go over or under. You'll be able to use the link in the description below. They will match up to $100 on your first initial deposit. Go ahead and get signed up. That is, once again, thrivefantasy.com. That is thrivefantasy.com. Get started and get winning today. All right, so let's just get all this right off the table right now. The Miami Dolphins, once again, have absolutely failed to really accomplish much of anything up until the final moments of the football game. And I think that's where we really have to get into this whole situation. Brian Flores and George Godsey and Eric Studsville and all these wonderful, wonderful people have basically gone ahead and made it so that they don't do much of anything until the final minutes of the game, and they realize, oh, wait, we're about to lose. And then they start opening up the playbook, they start going deep, and they start doing things where all of a sudden, oh, we actually have the ability to move the football. They went down the length of the field in less than 30 seconds with one deep pass to Devontae Parker and one pass to Mike Gesicki. That's all it took. 2 passes. And they were already in range for a touchdown. That's all it took all game long. They couldn't have done anything like that. And it just baffles me. It's kind of interesting how Chris Kaufman puts it. He basically said that the Dolphins are afraid of their own talent level. And I'm starting to wonder if maybe that's the case, because this whole going up for the ball, making big plays, that should be a feature, not a bug. That's what I said on Twitter, is that it should be a feature, not a bug. And so far, it looks like they're treating it like it's a glitch. Like if something really good happens, then actually it's not because the Miami Dolphins are talented. It's because, oh, the defense was made a mistake and we got lucky. No, that's what big play players do. That is what they are meant to do. That's what they're designed to do. Mike Gesicki is a top 5 pass catching. Notice how I made that difference. Pass catching tight end. Devontae Parker goes up for the ball and comes down with it more times than I can count. And yet they refuse to go there. They refuse to make that chance until they have no choice. As soon as you give them a variety of options to go with, they go with the most bland cookie cutter type of plays that I can even fathom. And that, more than anything, is what frustrates me. That's why this offense is failing. That's why they can't get anywhere. I know the offensive line is bad. I know the offensive line struggles. And I'm not going to take that away from them, because that is the reality of the situation. The offensive line is bad. But when you can do that 2 weeks in a row, by the way, 2 weeks in a row, and this time you can say it was garbage time. Last week, the Raiders were playing for the win because they were at the last seconds. And yet somehow the Dolphins were able to move the ball like it was no big deal, because they just went for it, doggone it. They just took that shot. And I'm going to say this right now, and everybody's going to get it all in my mentions and say that I'm an idiot and blah, blah, blah. If Tua was the quarterback for this game, they would have looked a whole lot better, because I lost count of how many passes Jacoby Brissett bounced in front of his receivers that were underthrown, that just weren't where they needed to be. And I don't want to hear anything about Jacoby Brissett as a veteran and he knows this and he knows this and blah, blah, blah. You know what? Brissett could not get the ball where it needed to be. He couldn't get the ball where it needed to be at least 3 times. And by the way, for anybody wondering what happened to Will Fuller, we're being told that it could be actually rather significant. So hopefully that's not the case, but I'm not putting up much hope. Codeine Bama, thank you for the special chat. $2, 35 rushing yards, unacceptable. Yes, it is very, very much unacceptable. I'm out of words. So Hussam, go ahead and walk me off the cliff, or do you think you should just go ahead and push me off so that I can do it? I don't have to do it myself.
Well,
Thank you for your input, Hussam. Okay, anyway.
What do I even say? I mean, look, last week the Dolphins picked up 173 of the 330 total yards in the fourth quarter and overtime against the Raiders. They had most of their offensive yards in the fourth quarter with the Gesicki and Parker plays and touchdowns. This was a major opportunity for Miami to take an aggressive step forward this Sunday, and the Colts defense is one of the worst. They're one of the league worst. They're 31st in yards per completion. Jacoby kept throwing dink and dunks, and the only time it ever worked was in the fourth quarter when the Colts weren't even playing prevent defense, and it looked like the game was already out of hand. They were 26 in quarterback pressure, and as awful the offensive line has been, Jacoby could not get the ball out of his hand quickly, kind of like how Tua did. And I agree with your sentiment. If Tua was the quarterback, we could have won this game. There were a lot of wide open wide receivers within the first and second quarter too. I would say the play calling was a little bit better the first couple quarters, but it just flatlined. Like, it was just bad. It was bad. And Jacoby had time to throw the ball. Even when he was getting out of the pocket, he was able to throw the ball, but he just held the ball too long because he either wanted that big play or wanted to get his first read guy open. It's inexcusable right now, Lewis. I don't even know how to put it. Like, we legitimately could be 3-1 right now, but instead we're 1-3.
It is inexcusable. That's the perfect word for it. It is inexcusable. And guess what? I truly believe that this front office needs to be held accountable for it. I have been a Brian Flores fan. I have been a defender of Chris Greer. But I've reached this point where this is supposed to be the year where you guys are pushing for playoffs. And instead, we look absolutely abysmal in every sense of the word. I need to turn my camera back on. I don't know what happened to that there just now. Okay, anyway. All I'm going to say, like I said, it's positively abysmal how everything is going right now. And by the way, all you people in the comments saying that we need Deshaun Watson, I guarantee you this, the play calling is not going to change just because Deshaun Watson is here. And I'm not even going to get into that right now because the things that I have to say regarding Deshaun Watson are not meant for this show. It's meant for private speaking. So I'm not even going to address that. Right now,
question, Lewis,
go ahead.
Before you go off on a tangent and go on a rant.
Sorry.
This has to be some kind of fireable offense, either on the offensive line or 2 to 3 people, whoever's the coordinators. My bet is that Godsey and Stewsville get fired and Charlie Fry gets upgraded into that.
Oh, you want to put money on that, huh?
Yeah, I think I put money on it.
You want to put money on that?
Gets promoted.
Godsey and Stewsville are not going anywhere.
Really?
Nowhere. They're going absolutely nowhere. Because Brian Flores picked his guys. They picked his guys. And I know that didn't stop them before or anything like that, but Chan Gailey was terrible all year, and he didn't get fired until that. Well, he didn't even get fired. He retired again. So it wasn't even that he got fired again. So I don't think Godsey and Stewsville are going anywhere. I really, really don't. And I don't think that Charlie Fry is going anywhere. I don't think Brian Flores is going anywhere. And here's the thing. If there were an offensive coordinator out there that we could count on and say, you're the guy and you're going to call our offense, I would be thrilled with that. But this is the thing. Everybody keeps saying, find this offensive coordinator. Who is the magical offensive coordinator who's going to miraculously bring this offense to life? Who is the proven play caller, the awesome offensive coordinator who just happens to be sitting on his couch, not doing anything because he's looking for a job? If there were good offensive coordinators available, he'd be hired somewhere. He would already have a job. So I don't know, like, what people, when people say this, it's all just wishful thinking. Like, they're going to magically create and genetically engineer this offensive coordinator that's going to come out of nowhere and make things work. Like, do you want to bring Chan Gailey back? Is that the plan? Do you want? I would bring back Chad O'Shea before I brought anybody like that back, and because he was the one who seemed to have the offense functioning at least semi-decently, and that was in the year that we were supposed to be bad. So that's why it's so frustrating to me. It's like the offensive coordinator choices have continued to go backwards this whole time. So Everybody's talking about time for basketball. Listen, I'm not a basketball guy. If I knew basketball, I'd cover basketball. Don't you think I would care more about basketball? But I'm
At
not.
least we have the Miami Heat, right,
Yeah,
Lewis, and the
right,
Florida
exactly.
Panthers. But look, and CK also tweeted this out a little bit earlier. But you gotta wonder that maybe the Dolphins might have a little bit of success against Tampa Bay next week because essentially, I know the line is going to be at least 18 to 20 points against this Tampa Bay team. They have nothing to lose against Tampa Bay, so why not go ahead, open it up, see how they do against?
Because that's not how they do business.
Ex-
Because that's not how they do business. And you know
I
it's true, Hussam. You know it's true. You know
I
what they're going
don't
to
know
do.
why they keep playing conservatively. They're playing a dink and dunk style where they're just like, okay, let's just give whatever the
Because that's what
defense
they did
can
in
give
New
us
England.
and not be aggressive.
Because
You
that's what
have
Hussam, they
playmakers.
did it in New England. He did it in New England and it worked. But problem is in New England, that's my friend Ron, he said it. It's like you're trying to duplicate the New England offense. It cannot be done. It is physically impossible to
It's
do.
not even a New England offense. It's an RPO offense built for 200. And if you've read it on 5 Reasons Sports, it can't work with this offensive line, and it can't work with Jacoby Brissett. Cool, yeah, you want to run play action, you want to run RPOs all the time, but you can't do it all the time. It's an extension of the passing and running game and should only be used in certain situations, not all the time. You saw it in the first couple drives against Buffalo, and Buffalo just feasted on the offensive line and the play calling on that. It was just too easy for them to play defense. You're literally just gifting the defense what you're going to be calling with just 1 to 2 options, and they can't do that. Now, if they lose against the Bucks, I mean, it's projected we're going to lose against the Bucks, but they need to open up the passing game for Tua Tagovailoa. Empty sets, quick play
Tua's
action
not coming
passes.
back until Jacksonville.
Until Jacksonville, after the Tampa Bay game, which is in London, they need to open up the pass game for him. And look, just give him a chance. It's like I even alluded to this earlier on, but it seems as if Brissett has a longer leash than Tua did last season. If Tua played like that, he would have been benched. He would have been pulled. But Tua played much better in those losses where he got pulled against Denver. It just it makes you think what's happening within the organization.
The organization as it stands, like see this, you know, I don't know what it is that, like, yeah, well, like I need to learn about basketball and this. I played basketball when I was a kid, and you know what? I was the kid who if I ever got my hands on the ball, I would shoot it and I would miss because I thought I was good and I wasn't. So I always gravitated towards football. I just always did. But anyway, that's besides the point. So this game, if nothing else, just proves more than anything else that the main issue right now is coaching. It really, really, really is. It really is coaching. That's the problem. And this is why. Because just that 1 30-second drive that got them where they were proves to me that they have the talent. So Jesse Davis says that apparently that the number one place that you don't want to be is the locker room. So we have to stay together. Can't be pointing fingers. Okay, well, guess what? No, you need to point fingers. And you need to point fingers right the heck now at your offensive coordinators and your coaching staff. Because quite frankly, there's no one else to blame for this right now. There is no one else to blame for all this except for that. Because, once again, in 30 seconds, you throw one deep pass to Devontae Parker, you throw one pass to Mike Gesicki, and boom, just like that, you are in range for a touchdown, and you're in the red zone, and you can't get there.
I also think we need to question the personnel usage of who's on the field with whatever play calling. I understand why Malcolm Brown was on the field to help with pass blocking, but my God, Myles Gaskin only 12 snaps on the field. Savon Ahmed only a handful. You have Malcolm Brown the entire game. He can't even help pass block. He can't even catch out of the backfield properly. He can't gain that yak. And then towards the second half, barely any touches to Jalen Waddle where he's able to work in space and get up the field and get some yardage. And he's the guy that you want to give the ball on third down to churn out that yardage and get that first down. You didn't even see him after the second half make any type of plays. He was gone. Like, he was not even being used to his maximum value. Like, They are just not using their players properly. It's just total mismanagement on the offensive side of the ball. Now, on the defensive side of the ball, they're trying their best, whatever they can to do. They're supposed to be an elite defense, but they can't be an elite defense if their offense keeps letting them down and they make stupid, undisciplined mistakes.
And that's the other thing about it, is that they're making mistakes that they really shouldn't make. And I'll give Jalen Phillips, by the way, let's give, if we want to talk about stuff that Chris Greer has done, Jalen Phillips seems to be a pretty good pick. So
Fantastic.
Yay, fantastic. But still, it's just that, first of all, that neutral zone infraction penalty. Okay, fine. I get it. I understand. That was a mistake on his part. That face mask call.
That wasn't even him.
It
wasn't even him.
He didn't touch the face mask.
It was the shoulder right here. I think they confused him with Emmanuel Ogbah when he just put his hand there to try and grab Carson Wentz, and they called it on Jalen Phillips. It was just mind-boggling, undisciplined penalties. And then the muff punt from Jakeem Grant. That's a Plaxico Burress move right there, man.
I love Jakeem Grant as a guy. I love his energy and his personality, but I get it. His best position is being a returner, and if he's not even doing that right, then he has no place on this team. But that's the thing, is who do you replace him with? No one else is doing anything because the play calling is garbage. The one time
Igbenogany, you have him for a reason. Use him.
Igbenogany looks awful as a returner. Every time he's returned it, he looks god awful as a returner. So that is not the solution. Nice try, though.
Well, at least Flores in his media just said we played poorly across the board. So that's something.
You don't say. You don't say. See, that's the thing about it. It's like he's saying that we played poorly across the board. I know that. We all know that. Why? What decisions did you make during the game that allowed that to take place? Why is it, once again, in the fourth quarter, when there's basically no hope for anything, all of a sudden you decide, you know what, I'm just going to heave it downfield and things will start to happen? You should be doing that from the start.
He's been saying we're going to take a look at everything the last couple weeks, and yet everything has not been fixed or at least given a Band-Aid yet to mask those mistakes. I don't know what's going on. I really don't know what's going on. And it's of course it's not easy fixes, but it can be done. Just what are they not doing right inside the locker room, inside personnel management, or just even game planning itself? Like last season, Miami didn't have a lot of expectations going into the season, and they outperformed it. This season, they have expectations, and they're sinking under the ice right now. Maybe the pressure is getting to the coaching staff and the players. What do you think?
If it's getting to the players and it's getting to the coaches, then this team has no shot of getting anywhere ever, okay? Because guess what? The NFL is all about making plays when the time comes, and it's about having pressure, and it's about when the game is on the line. Like, the only thing that I can really think of right now is that this is some bizarre recreation of Tua's Alabama career, where Jalen Hurts, in this case Jacoby Brissett, struggles and they need something big at the very end, and suddenly Tua is the one who's chosen to come in, and like the savior that he was at Alabama at the time, he comes in and suddenly the season is resparked anew. Is that what we're going for? Is that this kind of idea that we're going to bring to it?
You want to know what's the kicker? What's the kicker? Coach Flo just said that he never considered using Reed Sinnett.
Never. Yep. I knew he wouldn't. I knew from the start he would not. I knew he wouldn't. Like, I know that CK was saying, I'd be surprised if Reed Sinnett doesn't get it. Are you kidding? Like, I love CK. Don't get me wrong. He knows more about football than I've ever known. But it's like, I kind of have a knack, I'd like to think, for like judging people's character. And Brian Flores is not going to turn around and say that, you know what, I was wrong to put Jacoby in. Let's just go ahead and put Reed Sinnett instead, because that would be admitting that he done goofed. He done goofed big time, because Reed Sinnett, like, he had that one awesome preseason game, and I understand that we're all hyped up on that and thinking, well, maybe he'll be the one to fix the problem. I don't know if he's going to fix the problem, but I figured they got nothing to lose at this point. That's the only thing.
Is Coach Flo nearing Matt Patricia territory right now?
Matt Patricia?
Matt Patricia territory.
It's starting to feel that way. It starts off promising, then things start to fall off, and then he has to go back to New England to restart his career, I guess.
And look, this also falls back down on Jacoby Brissett as well, because we saw those downfield plays early on, and Coach Flo just said right now there were some shot plays there that ended up getting checked down by Jacoby Brissett. He just couldn't. He held on the ball for too long and couldn't get it out. Like that comes back on Jacoby Brissett. That comes back on play calling a little bit. That comes back on coaching all across the board. It was just bad. You can say this was even worse than the Bills game because the Dolphins actually had a chance to win this game.
And by that logic, so was last week. And by the way, I agree that last week was worse than the Buffalo Bills game. That's the craziest thing of all. If we really, really, really think about it, it's that in a year where we lost 35-0, that was probably like the least bad game that we had all year. Because it's that you see it, it's there. The answer is staring you in the face. And they don't take it. They don't take it. Like Reed Sinnett would not have. I don't know if he would have made anything different than Jacoby Brissett. I really don't, because there's a reason that he's like a practice squad-ish guy. So there was some. Brian Flores admitting that there were some shot plays there that ended up getting checked down. Oh, so are you saying that was the quarterback's decision, that Jacoby Brissett chose to go for the short pass instead of taking that shot downfield when he should have, like we've been asking for all along? Oh my God, man!
And look, they're doing testing on Byron Jones as well. And I just want to put it out there. Why would you put Justin Coleman out there on the boundary?
That was the biggest thing for me there.
When you have Needham, who is arguably, his natural position is boundary corner. You have Jason McCourty, who can also play boundary corner. You can move him into the slot. Justin Coleman is bad. He is bad. He is legitimately bad on the outside. He is bad on the inside too. You have Nick Needham. You have Javon Holland. You have McCourty. You have Brandon Jones, who's also a blitzer. I mean,
Brandon Jones is a linebacker playing safety. I would like him.
How many times did the Dolphins get into the backfield and not bring down Carson Wentz? I can count it using my hands and my toes and my dad's hands and toes. Like, they got into the backfield, but they just could not bring him down. And Brandon Jones fixes that issue. You take out Landon Robertson coverage and you put Brandon Jones there. The problem is fixed a little bit. Like, you will not have coverage breakdowns. You will not have running backs running free into the flats. Like, just use that. Use your personnel. You have the players. You're just not using them correctly.
I know. We're going for like it. You know what? I'm wondering. This is something that I saw regarding the Jacksonville Jaguars, and I'm wondering if Miami is doing the same nonsense. Are we basing all of our decisions on things like analytics and like personnel matchups and stuff like that? Are we assuming that, it's a big wide receiver, so we'll put a big cornerback on him, Justin Coleman, who is bigger than Nick Needham or some nonsense? I want the best player. I don't care what the matchup is. I will take Xavier Howard versus the top wide receiver over, I'll just put Nick Needham on him because maybe he's a smidge faster than this other guy who is also fast. That's not how it works, man. Like, you put your football players against football players. I don't like this numbers game that they're doing. I don't like this matchup game that they're doing. Just pick the best guy you got and go. That should be the answer. It doesn't have to be this complicated. It feels like they're making it more complicated than it needs to be.
Are we hitting the panic button right now?
At this point, yeah. If the things keep going the way that they're going, I'm officially reaching the point. Okay, he's like, for me, it's reaching the panic point. Yes, because I have nothing positive to say about anything that's gone on. I can say that I liked Jalen Phillips. Like Jalen Phillips is not getting as much love as he should. I feel like that we should be getting some love for the likes of Nick Needham, who did make some good plays, except for that last one where the tight end got above him. We're going to welcome Jacob Michelle to the show. I believe you were actually at were you at the stadium?
He left early.
Unfortunately, I was actually.
Okay, well, we've reached the point where, at least for me anyway, I've hit the panic button because I don't see anything positive about this team to look forward to other than Tua's return. And I'm not sure how much of a difference he's going to make right now, because if the play calling continues this rate, basically the only way the Dolphins are going to get anywhere on offense is if Tua looks at the offensive coordinator box, flips them the bird, and says, "I'm doing it my way," and goes rogue in game. So, Jacob, I'll let you have your thought.
I just think that the defense is just demoralized out there because they know whatever they do, they're going to be put in a terrible position. They're going to have to defend on their own 20-yard line. They didn't really get any great field position today, other than the punt from Pilardi, who really, I mean, it was a good punt, but other than that, it's just demoralizing for a defense to have to put up with an offense who goes 3 and out and then Brissett fumbles. It's just us.
So, and what was the mood like over there at the stadium? I know you were there. I know you were surrounded by a very angry Dolphins fans. I mean, I could hear the booing from here. It's not like I couldn't hear it. So, like, what were the thoughts? What were the things that were being said around you while you were out there?
Well, I had one crazy person behind me who was basically pessimistic the entire game. But I mean, the boost started coming when the offense couldn't find any rhythm, and that was basically, I mean, it started coming basically after the second half. But people were just, I mean, they were demoralized. One guy was so angry, he like stormed out, making a big scene. He stormed out of the state. He stormed out of like our section. But fans are pissed, and I mean, they come every week. They're season ticket holders who come every week, and they expect like at least like is a touchdown at home too much to ask? And they got their first touchdown at home today when it didn't really matter. They scored a couple times, but like fans are expected to see an offense that could stand their ground, and they're not able to see that.
So some folks are talking like I'm being too harsh on Brian Flores. Let me reiterate my stance on Brian Flores. He is not a bad coach. I do not believe he is a bad coach. What I question is his situational decision making. What I question is the choice he has in offensive coordinators, and I also question his inability to not see where he's making a mistake. He made a mistake in letting Justin Coleman be the guy on the outside when Coleman, his entire career, he made money being a slot cornerback. That's the same thing with the Bobby McCain thing. You put him at safety, even though, again, he made his money as a slot cornerback, and you put him at safety. And then now with Coleman, you put him on the outside, even though you know you have Nick Needham, whose best position is on the boundary. Why? Explain that to me. That is why this is why I'm getting frustrated with Brian Flores, because I'm looking at the decisions that he's making. I'm looking at the things that he is allowing on a week-to-week basis, on a play-by-play basis. And I'm thinking, why are you doing that? I questioned him when he decided not to let Jason Sanders try to kick the 55-yard field goal. I questioned his ability I questioned why he would put Coleman out there instead. I questioned why they continue to put out Jacoby Brissett, even though it's not working, and Reed Sinnett might actually make, I don't know, give something, a spark, something. I don't know. And I also question his decision in choosing his assistant coaches. At this point, I would, if it were me, I would fire Godsey, and I would, or at the very least demote them, because I know Studsville is good at coaching coaching running backs. I know that Godsey is good at coaching tight ends. So at that point, unless, and I doubt they really need to take the demotion. So at that point, you would have to fire them. But I digress. I would just let Charlie Fry be the offensive coordinator and be done with it. Like, seriously, at least then we can point at it and say, you know what? It's your fault, because you are the only one. There is no question about who's making the play calling, who's making the decision on what thing, whose decision was this one, who's the collaborative. No, it's you. And we're going to point at you and say that you are the problem. That it was very easy to point out Chan Gailey last season when the offense didn't move. It was very easy to point at this person or this person when things didn't move, because there was no question. Now you have Godsey. and Studsville and Fry, and they're all collaborating together to try to make the offense function. What this seems like to me is a smokescreen to say, well, you can't really blame it on one person. I mean, who's really responsible? And then what? No, I'm sorry. I can't accept that.
I just want to respond to the comment. Not many teams are winning with games with their backup QBs. First of all, this Colts team was 0-3. They were nothing special. Jacoby Brissett is known to be a solid backup, and the offense was stagnant. It was not moving the entire game.
No, I'm not gonna do the Jacoby Brissett thing with you there. I'm just
not. Guess what, guys? The Jets just won their first game against the Tennessee Titans, and Zach Wilson just threw a dime to stay hot and win the game in overtime. So look,
that doesn't change the fact that he's been garbage all year.
Before I leave you guys to go on your rant, look, the Miami Dolphins have, for the last 3 years under head coach Brian Flores, they've always started slow and they've figured it out as the season progresses. If you take a look at this historically, they should be able to figure it out. I mean, they have to if they want to at least win some games. You're getting, after the Tampa Bay game, you're getting not good teams that you should be able to win against, and that should fluff up your record in what should be theoretically a push for the playoffs. And if they get it done, if it happens, we're all going to look back and say, okay, what the hell happened? They figured it out, blah, blah, blah. But if they don't, the seat's warm for a lot of guys. I do think the seat is warm for a lot of people within the organization.
Yep, that's what I feel like at this point. At some point, accountability has to come in. I want Brian Flores to work out so badly. I was so hyped for Brian Flores, but you know what? I was also hyped for Adam Gase. Now, I'm not going to go ahead and say that Gase is Flores or Flores is Gase, because one is a lot more likable than the other. I'm just going to say that right off the bat. I would much rather have Brian Flores than Adam Gase, just from a personality standpoint, honestly. But I'm trying to find something that I can put my hat on and say, you know what, we have something to look forward to. I really am. And I'm struggling to find it. I'm struggling to see what is the plus here. Like, I want to say the defense can be good, but the defense gives up too many big plays. Like, they make a lot of big plays, but they also give up too many big plays. So I just don't know what the issue is. So, like, I see there's a lot of arguments going on in the chat right now. Like, where is the problem? Some are saying that that Flores is the problem, that Greer is the problem, that Tua is the problem. Okay, first of all, Tua is not even playing. So I don't know how you can say Tua is the problem these last 2 weeks, because Tua hasn't done anything. He's not even here. So I don't know why Manny thinks it's funny that I'm suffering. I thought we were bros, man. I thought we were cool, but I guess not. Like, I'm questioning your friendship, dude.
You know what's worse between the 13th minute and 18-second mark in the second quarter to the 13th minute and 18-second mark in the fourth quarter, which is about 30 minutes, about 2 quarters of football. The Dolphins gained 5 yards on offense. 5 yards on offense. Speechless. That's exactly what it is.
Okay, well, if the problem is Tua is not playing, then that's
okay. You know what, Spud? Here's what I'll say, and then Manny, if you can block him and kick him out. Rob Gronkowski, he's a humongous man, and he's got a couple of fractured ribs. He's not playing. He's out. If you saw the shot Graham Mertz taking that Wisconsin-Michigan game, that Dak so absolutely clobbered him, it's the same way Tua got clobbered. And Graham Mertz is a 6'3", 230-pound guy who's arguably much bigger than Tua and had fractured ribs, who might be out for the season and didn't even get into the game. So how about you take these trash takes and put them in the garbage can where you belong? And Manny, kick him out if you can.
Okay, then. Well, I guess
Hussam like, I don't know just how you can blame Tua on this.
I guess I personally don't think he needed to be kicked out, but that's just me. But anyway,
Aaron Andrews saying can't believe they played the Dolphins theme song down 27-10. I was there when they played that, and Mike and Mike Gesicki was hyped up. It was the first time all season when Dolphins fans had energy in the stadium. And then what happened after that drive? it led to a scoring drive. So like we had a little bit of momentum right there, and it was like you could feel it in the stadium, but just gets shut down immediately after.
Yeah. So, I mean, is there anything else that we really need to say right now other than that there needs to be a change? I'm not saying we need to fire Brian Flores. I'm saying that Flores needs to be held accountable for the bad decisions that he's allowing. Even if it's not his decision that's being made, like the offensive coordinators. Okay, so it's the coordinators who are doing it. Okay, well, he's still the head coach. It's his job to tell them, listen, you guys need to make a change in how you're doing things, if that's the case. Because at the end of the day, he's the boss. He's the boss. That's the job of the head coach. You are the boss. And so everything else needs to happen from that point on. Royal wants us to end the show. I'm not even going to go there. So I think that if there's anything the Miami Dolphins need to do right now, it's that Brian Flores needs to take control of this whole situation and basically say, listen, everything that we're doing right now, we need to go ahead and take the we need to take the chance to make some changes. We need to tell Godsey and Studsville, listen, this whole not taking what the defense gives you, sometimes you just have to force it. Sometimes you have to force it. Sometimes you have to take that shot. Sometimes you have to be the gunslinger. Sometimes you have to do that because all this taking what the defense gives you stuff, for a while it seemed to be working. But then once again, when execution falls apart, things stop working out so well. It just stops doing what it needs to be doing. I believe that Ethan is going to be coming in very briefly in just a minute or so. So we're going to stick around for a little while longer. So I don't know. Is Raekwon Davis back next game? I don't know what. I don't know if he's going to be back. I'm not sure how much more of a difference he's going to make. All right, Husam's got to go.
Bye, guys.
Gotta go.
Have fun. I'll talk to you guys, and I'll catch up on what Ethan says a little bit later. I gotta sleep till I gotta go to work.
All right, man.
Bye, guys.
Thank you for coming on.
Of course.
All right. So I don't understand what needs to be done at this point. Like we want to say that. Like there are people saying that picking Tua was the problem in and of itself because we didn't get Justin Herbert. Okay, well, listen, Justin Herbert is the gunslinger quarterback. That's why he has more success. Big arms quarterbacks tend to have early success on. Drew Brees, I keep making the Drew Brees comparison. I'm not even going to say that Tua is going to become Drew Brees. I'm only saying that quarterbacks like him, quarterbacks like Tua, they generally tend to need more time to pan out. Peyton Manning was never a cannon type of quarterback. It took him some time for him to become Peyton Manning, right? In his rookie season, everybody thought that he was an absolute complete bust because he he broke the rookie record on interceptions, if I'm not mistaken. So if they gave up on Peyton Manning that quickly, then they would have never had Peyton Manning for as long as they did. So that's number one. Number two. The main thing that I see the Miami Dolphins needing to do right now is that they need to reevaluate the offensive coordinator situation and the way that they are calling plays. I'm trying to be as rational about this whole thing as I can, but when you have nothing positive to really hang your hat on, it's very difficult to find something to point at to say, here's why things are not hopeless. This season is far from over. There's still 11 games to be played. All right, there's more than that. What is there? 1-3, so that's 4 games so far. My brain is tired. My brain is tired from trying to do math. So here comes Ethan right now. So I'm going to go ahead and bring him in now. So Ethan, I'm trying to bring Ethan in anyway. So Manny, are you trying to do it? All right, there we go. Hello, Ethan. How are you?
Oh, great. I'm actually outside of the Dolphins interview room. They're still bringing in players. Flores has spoken. You guys have probably seen some of the quotes. I think that Emmanuel Ogbah is finishing up right now. But, I mean, what can you say? I mean, some of the stuff that Brian Flores said is not going to go over particularly well with the fan base. I think he's had pretty much a hall pass here so far. I think some of it's been earned because I think he's done a good job. But, when you're saying things like we're trying to be methodical early, and then take our shots later. Like, Dolphin fans don't want to hear that. Like, that's very one-steadian. And I just feel like, just generally, like, this is sort of a team without an identity right now. They can't run the ball. They've got, at the receiver position, Fuller's going to be out for a while, is what we're hearing. And, Waddle doesn't get involved after the first quarter, and Parker and Gesicki don't get involved to the fourth. So it just doesn't seem like there's any direction. And to me, the defensive players, Agba, others are saying all the right things. It's a team. We can't allow what's happening on the other side to affect us. But we all know it does, right? I mean, if you've covered the Dolphins, you watched the Dolphins enough over the past 20, 25 years, even the best defenses with Hall of Fame type players like Jason Taylor, Zach Thomas, Sam Madison, Patrick Surtain, eventually cracked when they constantly were put in bad field position, when the offense wasn't scoring, when they had to come back on the field immediately. And this is not, a Jason Taylor, Zach Thomas defense. It's a good defense, but it's not that level. And so I just think that, they're in trouble right now. I don't think there's any question about it. I mean, they're headed for 1-4. And, I don't really see a solution on the roster, with all the problems they're having with their backs, with their offensive line, and now with consistency at quarterback. They're just a bad offensive football team. It's pretty much as simple as that.
You know what, though, Ethan? I think this is why I don't really think there needs to be a solution with the personnel. Because, again, they went down the length of the field in less than 30 seconds. It just took them taking a deep shot to Devontae Parker and one to Gesicki, and that was the end of the story. They have the personnel. I truly believe they have the personnel. It's just that I don't know if they even have the will to play an aggressive style of offense. And that's, I think, where the biggest problem is. If they want to turn this season around, it's of my opinion that Brian Flores needs to tell Godsey and Studsville and Fry, enough with this nonsense about this dink and dunk, taking what they're going to give you stuff. You dictate what the defense is going to give you. You force them to make adjustments on their defense, and then you can play that dink and dunk stuff if you want to. But you have to dictate how this all goes, because Parker can go up and get it whenever he wants. Gesicki can go up and get it whenever he wants. Just toss it up there. It's not that difficult. I really don't think they need to make any changes with players. I think they need to change they need to change their philosophy.
And I also think the personnel at quarterback with Jacoby Brissett, I did not think Jacoby Brissett had like a good game. I think he played a pretty bad game, and he fumbled the ball. He missed some throws. He missed a wide open Gesicki over the middle. And when you have a backup quarterback that can't even play good, and he just played overall, he just played bad, it's hard to move the offense like that until the second half in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, I don't think there's any doubt about that. I mean, Jacoby missed throws. I mean, the accuracy is just,
he bounced passes in front of his guy too many times.
It's just not good enough from that position. But I do wonder. I know what you're saying, Lewis, that there are things they can get to. I get it. I do think they need to be more aggressive. But I also think we're seeing serious flaws with the construction of the roster. And I think that, when you take a look at certain things that were put together this year, I've said this repeatedly, you can't be breaking in 3 or 4 young offensive linemen at the same time. You're putting yourself in a terrible position. They don't have vets on the offensive line who can kind of pull the thing together. I'm really not pinning much on this on the defense. 27 points, whatever. I mean, they're in terrible positions. They're being put in bad spots. Did they stop the run today? Not really that well. I mean, Agba talked about that, but it was
mostly big plays that gashed them.
Exactly. It wasn't consistently, 5, 6, 7 yards down. These kind of chunks. There are a couple big plays. Even the first game of the season, it was really, the one big play by Harris in the first game of the year, and then they kind of shut it down. Their run defense has not been that bad. This is a good defensive football team, but it's a horrible offensive football team right now. And it's just, whether you want to attribute that to personnel, to coaching, to approach, whatever it is, they're bad. I mean, and, there's the stat padding in the fourth quarter because Parker and Gesicki make some plays for you doesn't obfuscate that. I mean, it still is what it is. I think maybe with Fuller out, it simplifies things a little bit because I did feel like they were trying to force to him somewhat. So maybe that will help in some ways. But look, the two guys that can produce for you offensively are Parker and Gesicki. You can't be waiting until the fourth quarter to get them looks. And they're both guys who can, go, as you said, Lewis, who can go up and get it, when you're having, struggles with the rest of your offense. Okay. And so there needs to just be more of that. I'm with you. But I also think that, they're going to need to flush this offense in the offseason again. Like, I don't think they're going to suddenly become a great offensive team. There were mistakes made. There's no question about it. And look, at the running back position, if you're at this, and I've never been one of these burned first-round picks on running backs. I mean, 15 years before other people thought it, before it became popular, I was don't spend early picks on running backs. But, I mean, Malcolm Brown can't be your starting running back. I'm sorry. And now he wasn't even asked about Gaskin today, which I was surprised. I guess he's completely out of the running back rotation at this stage because he doesn't block. But they don't have a back that they can rely on. They don't have anybody who can sustain anything on a drive. And I just think so to me, it is a lot personnel, Lewis. I think it's a little of both, but I think the biggest takeaway today, and if I do write a column, it's this. I feel like the fan base has, again, given Flores a pass on everything. I felt that turning today on Twitter and in other places because of the philosophy, because of being so unaggressive early in the game. The decision not to kick the field goal with Sanders, which he was asked about, from 55 yards. I mean, that's what you're paying that guy for, right? He's a highly paid kicker because he's really good and he can kick from past 50. Get the points or try to get the points and trust your defense if the kick doesn't go through to stop the other team. There was no trust in the defense there. So, yes, they pin him down at the 1. I still don't like it. You try to get points when you can get points. And I just think I don't like watching an unaggressive coaching approach, okay? We saw it with Manny Diaz the other day for UM. It cost them the damn game. I don't like it, and I think Dolphin fans got sick of it during the Wanstead era, during the Philbin era, during all these other eras, and now it's back, and I think
I don't think it ever left. I think with Gase, it was the same thing.
Exactly. Okay, I want to see, at some point, a team that, if you believe in your players, show that you believe in your players, okay? And particularly if you believe in your defense, which is what this team supposedly is being built on, then what's the difference if Sanders misses the kick there? So what? So the other team starts at the 38? Who cares? I just think, to me, that set a bad tone for this game. And the comeback in the fourth quarter is meaningless to me. Teams play differently when they're ahead. And you can't make excuses for this. Look, you don't have your starting quarterback. Jacoby Brissett started games for the Colts in this league, okay? You can win with him, all right? Wasn't good today, but you can win with him. You're playing a winless team at home. I'm sorry. It's just not good enough.
All right, so Ethan, I'm going to put you on the spot here real quick because it's going ballistic in the chat.
Yep.
But straight up, does a trade for Deshaun Watson save the season?
No.
Why?
Oh, well, I think for a few reasons, and I got to move out of this area here this way. I think for a few reasons. I think first thing, we don't even know if he's in condition to play. Okay. Let's not even get into the legal stuff, the ethical stuff, or any of that stuff. Just as far as being able to play right now, he's been participating with Houston, but to what level, right? Then he's got to come in here and he's got to learn an offense. It's going to be a circus, okay? It's even with COVID. It's going to be a media circus. You trade for that guy with the allegations that he's under right now, there's going to be a whole bunch of distractions that are created. Look, from a talent perspective, in an off-season, if you're trading for Deshaun Watson in an off-season for his talent, is he worth multiple first-round picks? Absolutely. During a season, with the cloud over him, with the suspension and all this stuff, is he going to get this team to the playoffs? I don't believe so. I don't think it makes that much of a difference anyway this year, okay? So would I do it? I don't think it's worth, throwing the farm. And if you're going to say, well, you do it because you don't care about the draft picks because the guys can't draft anyway, then you need to make a change there. So I wouldn't – to me, it's not something that I would do right now, no.
Okay, so I just wanted to go ahead and do that. So,
but I understand it, Lewis. I understand it.
I get it from that standpoint, and I've already made my case abundantly clear on how I feel about the Deshaun Watson thing. It's more than just the talent level. If it was just strictly talent at this point, I would say sure, why not? But it's not. We can't ignore it. It's a thing.
But Lewis, does he make them on his own? Okay. Let's say he's totally right now from a football perspective. Does he, with the rest of the group, does he make them a top 10 offense?
Not top 10, but I think he gets them to function. But I think Tua can get them to function too, given the play calling is decent.
Right. I believe that too. But now the problem you've got is you're going to have Tua returning to a 1-4 team.
Mm-hmm. Well, I brought this up. I can only wonder if maybe they're trying to pull this this stunt like it was in Alabama, where it's like Jalen Hurts / Jacoby Brissett is struggling, and then all of a sudden Tua comes and the savior is reborn, and suddenly the season is saved.
I did notice a little bit more pro Tua sentiment today. I mean, there's a little bit. I mean, because there was a chance we were going to head the other direction, right? Like if Brissett played really well during these 3 games, then it was going to be okay. You know, then you start to doubt Tua again. I think now you see, well, the fact that Tua actually is accurate means something, right? Like I'm not saying he's perfect. Now he needs good circumstances around him, which is one of the problems for this team right now because they can't really create those. But at least he's going to throw an accurate ball. What you see with Brissett is he doesn't really throw an accurate ball. So, I mean, that's the problem for him. I mean, this could have gone one of 2 ways, right? Either the backup quarterback comes in, looks really good, and you start to question the starting quarterback, or it goes the Ray Lucas, Jay Fiedler way, and it's gone the Ray Lucas, Jay Fiedler way, right? I mean, you know, nobody really appreciated Jay until he was out for 6 weeks in 2002, and Ray went 2-4. I mean, that's, you know, and then they appreciated him a little more, and people look back at that season and are like, well, if Jay had been healthy, that was a team that actually could have done something. That's how they look back at it. You know, I think that there may be a little bit more appreciation now of what Tua actually provides, but he's going to be coming back to an almost impossible situation. I mean, must-win game at 1-4, you know, coming back off an injury. It's just this thing has just not been set up for him to succeed. I do think Brian Flores sort of overcoached this team to a better record last year than it should have been, which raised the expectations. And I think mistakes were made this offseason that are showing up. Priority this offseason should have been getting veteran offensive linemen. I think looking back, I think that should have been the priority, and it wasn't. We're trading for one or get something, and it didn't happen, and now you're in this position.
So now, and this is where I'm going to go ahead and bring this up too, because I feel like that you mentioned something is that Flores make this team overachieve last season. Okay, so what's going on right now? Why are we suddenly underachieving so badly?
I mean, it's a good question. I mean, I think it's a different group, and it takes some time. To be fair, Brian Flores' teams have gotten better over the course of the past 2 seasons. Okay, I mean, that last result against the Bills last year, notwithstanding, where I think they hit the wall, that team improved over the course of the year. Clearly, the team his first year improved over the course of the year. They were historically bad through the first few weeks, and they ended up, you know, winning 5 of their last 9. So they can get better, I think, as he gets a better handle on the team. I think the problem is, and Jesse Davis kind of said this when he came out, was the first thing he says, we need to stay together. What happens with teams when they start 1-3, 1-4, 1-5 is they start to fracture, and what could be a season that's saved can't be. So they do need to stay together. I'm just questioning if they have the horses in that room to make this thing work on the offensive end. That's all. And, you know, the combination, I think, of bad play calling and bad personnel, you have a historically bad offense. And that's kind of what they have right now. And it's just difficult for the defense to kind of prop them up.
Yeah. I'm of the mindset. I understand what you're saying, that the offensive line. I'm not going to argue the offensive line personnel. I'm definitely not. As far as I'm concerned, the offensive line personnel wise is is a disaster, and I've been saying that from the beginning, ever since we saw them that first game. But as far as the receivers go, as far as what they could do, like, you don't really have to do much. Like, all you have to do, if we're being perfectly honest, is just snap the ball, toss up a lob, and let Parker go get it. Seriously, because that's what the Colts did. They did that in this very game. They didn't.
Lewis, the Colts did nothing special to win this.
Right,
game.
They didn't do anything special. Wentz snapped it, threw it, and they caught it. Let Miami do that. I don't know why Miami couldn't do that.
I just, to me, the single biggest thing is the Parker Gesicki thing. I think those are the 2 guys that you have to get them involved offensively. You know that they can typically win their matchups, or even when they don't have separation, like you said, they can make a catch. I like the idea, obviously, of integrating Waddle more and more and trying to get him in space. I don't think they're going to have Fuller for a while, okay, if at all. All right, so
I don't think so either. And
right,
that was why I was against Fuller from the very beginning.
Right, so I think we're moving past that. But I just think for Parker and Gesicki, you're 2 guys that you can go to, and we see it open up at the end of games. It's almost like they just need to be forced. They need to be forced to just take that kind of chance. I thought that move in the first quarter to not kick the field goal or not press the action there is just, I don't know. It just brought back terrible memories. I had so many conversations with Dave Wanstead where he said it's okay to punt. It is, but it sends a message to your team. It sends a message to your team that, you know, you're giving up on the possession, basically. And it also sent a message to your defense that you have to create a favorable circumstance for the defense. I would have just preferred try to take the 3 points at there, at least get yourself to 6-0, get yourself a little bit of momentum there. I think Sanders probably makes a kick because he makes those kind of kicks typically. I mean, the one kick recently notwithstanding, I didn't like the play at all. And I don't like the fact that everything does seem to be checked down Charlie in the first half of games. And that's, I mean, he said some things were called, but he also did say specifically we were trying to be more methodical. I never want to hear a coach say that. If you believe in your personnel, attack. I don't think he believes in his personnel. I don't think his coordinators believe in the personnel. I don't know if he believes in his coordinators. I think all of that comes through here.
And just going back to what you said about Gesicki and Parker, it's disappointing to me because they are so talented. Gesicki is a talented tight end. Parker's a talented receiver. And you see Ryan Fitzpatrick, he was able to utilize this talent. He was able to play to these players' strengths. And Jacoby Brissett just wasn't able to hit them and not convert there.
Until the fourth, Jacob. And then, when you have no choice, right? It's like, this is sort of CK's theory with his team. It's like this team is better when some options are taken off the table. And they're kind of forced to do what they probably should be doing anyway, but they're trying to go a different direction because of different personnel.
And that's been the case for it almost feels like it's been the case for a decade. Back when Tannehill was here.
I've watched this same crap for 25 years. I've covered a lot of these games, and it's just, you just know, it's the same thing with a different regime, and that's frustrating because I do think that this guy knows what he's doing. I do. But I don't think he was helped by some of the decisions that he was likely involved in this offseason from a personnel standpoint. And I think that has put them – I think they know they're not good enough offensively. I think that came across today. The way they coach it tells you that, right? Like, they don't believe in their offensive personnel. You can say it all you want. You prove it by what you call. And they're not calling an aggressive game plan, because they don't believe that they can protect long enough. They don't think their receivers can get open. They don't think they have running backs who can game break. And they're telling you what they think of their personnel. But it's their personnel
that they went and got.
That's all I got to say. All right, I got to get upstairs before I'm the personnel that's wiped out. Lewis, appreciate you holding it down. Jake, thanks for coming on here, and thanks to everybody for watching.
All right. Thank you, Ethan, very much for coming on. And we're going to go ahead and get ready to call this a show. I know that it's very difficult to be any kind of positive right now. Next week is against Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I don't think it's going to be pretty, but we can only hope for the best. Jacob, do you have any final thoughts before we call it a show?
Just that this offense, unless something changes in the coaching room or in the personnel room, even though I think we have the personnel, it's going to be a long season offensively. And Ethan was right. I've been seeing the same thing for years and years and years now. Mm-hmm. And it's just like, it's kind of psychopathic at times. You do the same thing and you expect a different result. I just don't see anything positive unless things start to change up in the coaching room.
Definition of insanity that's what that is. Yes.
There we go. Got the wrong word there.
No, I mean, it's psychopath. Listen, maybe it is. Maybe there's something in the organization that's like a psychopath. I don't understand. How can you go through 5 different regimes and still get the same exact problems for the exact same issues? And no matter what you try to fix, no matter what you try to do, it just doesn't change. I don't know. I really don't. I don't know what the solution is. So my solution at this point is a very quick fix. Just take shots. Just fire down the field. Let Parker and Gesicki do what they do best. And as soon as they start to double up Parker and Gesicki because they know they're going to get burned by them, that's when you can start to give what the defense is giving you. You don't start that way.
Defense isn't respecting Brissett at all. They're really not. They're like, I dare you to throw this ball. And then he threw the ball and Parker was able to get it. So they're daring him to take those one-on-ones, and then he did it. I think the run game is in complete shambles right now. Don't even get me started on the special teams. That was a joke today with the offsides and the muff punt. But there's definitely some fixes that need to go on.
Yep. I agree. All right. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. And once again, big thank you to Thrive Fantasy for sponsoring today's episode. If you haven't done so already, go on to thrivefantasy.com and go ahead and put in your first deposit, and they will match up to $100. All you got to do is just go ahead and pick the top 10 out of the 20 available players. The worst thing that'll probably happen is that you can, at the very least, get your money back. So you really have not very much to lose if you go ahead and jump on this. For me, it's a really big time saver. For me, it's a really good way to put a little extra you-know-what in my pocket, so we'll be able to make the most of it. Go to thrivefantasy.com. Go ahead and get started today. All right. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. Hopefully next week we'll be able to say something a little nicer. I'm not holding my breath, but any given Sunday, right? Any given Sunday or any given Thursday.
Hey, look at the Jets.
Look at the Jets. All right. Thank you all so much for joining us, and we'll be back next time.